All right, we're with Saline Police Chief Jared Hart. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview here today via Zoom. First of all, how are you and your family?
We're doing good. Like many of the folks that will eventually be watching this, it was just my wife and I yesterday at home with ham and mashed potatoes and enjoying an Easter dinner just with us. So it was very unique and strange. But the sooner we can flatten this curve and get back to normal, we'll all be better. But thank you for asking.
How about everybody in the department? Is everybody staying healthy in the Saline Police Department?
So far, knock on wood, everybody's been great. There was an article today that I read, I think it was USA Today, that talked about rural and would also include small police departments, the impact that, COVID-19 is having as police officers, get sick on staffing levels. So when you have a smaller town or maybe a rural department, a lot of your staff members are second career police officers. Mm-hmm. So we tend to be up there in a higher risk group, especially for this COVID-19. So we're doing all we can here to sanitize our police vehicles. I have a company that comes in on Monday and Friday. They're fogging our police vehicles with a disinfectant. All of our offices get done. All the door handles get wiped. And that's supplemental to what we are all doing as we get into a police car for our shift. We're wiping it all down and gloving up and keeping our environment as clean as possible.
What are some of the different ways that you guys are interacting differently with the public? I know you touched on this in some social media posts, but for people who haven't read that.
Yeah, traditionally we're fraternal, right? We love people. That's why we're in this business. We love interacting with them. I think this, not only for COVID-19, but we are going to see a change in policing across America, if not the world, moving forward. Once we beat this pandemic, right? We're taking a lot more phone reports for things that we normally would have, responded to someone's home for or to the scene of an accident. If both the vehicles are drivable, let's get them here to the police department, and then we'll have police officers call both parties on the phone and try to ascertain what took place. So we're really limiting our contact with the public, which, it's a painful thing for us because we do really enjoy our citizens and enjoy having contact with them.
This is the second time I've heard you say that there could be some long-term implications with this. Why do you think there could be a new normal in policing when this is all said and done?
I think there will be a new normal for most of us. Society. I don't know if we'll ever turn back, go back to the way things were. I think we will all be much more cognizant of, shaking hands, exchanging, items between two people. If a police officer pulls a motorist over, let's say for speeding, do we really need to have them hand us their documents, their proof of insurance, their registration, their driver's license? Or is that something that they can hold, that we can write down to make sure that their registration insurance is valid and current, and look at their driver's license, and we could jot down the driver's license number quickly on a pad of paper, on our notebooks. So I think a lot of that is going to change, and I will be challenging our police officers here and my peers to come up with ways that we can prevent this from happening, because definitely is hitting the law enforcement community very hard, right? So we have to find ways to protect ourselves from, future pandemics and even the regular flu, right?
Right. Yeah. Anxiety and stress, I think people are feeling a lot of anxiety and stress these days. Not everybody, but some people. And has that manifested itself in terms of the way people are behaving here in Saline? Or are people behaving well? Or
I think for the most part, early on in the executive order 2021, the original stay home, stay safe order, we had a lot of people that were, reporting businesses that were still functioning and still in operation. So that caused us to have to go out and interact with the business manager or owner, right? To, hey, turn over your information that you feel makes you exempt from this. So we had a lot of that early on. So I think people are looking out for the best interest of, the public's health,
right,
not just their own. But we are starting to see an uptick, especially the last couple of days, of people that are having mental health crises, people that are just starting to feel the effects. I can see it when I go into the homes of folks that are having anxiety attacks or what have you here. I could see it in their eyes, and I'm hoping the weather breaks again for us.
Right.
And get outside and enjoy that beautiful sunshine and all that our parks have to offer here in the community. Just remember to keep that social distancing and just enjoy the weather. We are starting to see an uptick in it. Domestic violence, knock on wood here on my desk, but people have been very good. And I think there's an opportunity for couples and significant others to kind of reconnect, in a way that they weren't able to before, because it's work, and a lot of work-life balances were really skewed.
In terms of domestic violence, people who, have to shelter in place with somebody who might be abusive, that's obviously not a very comforting situation. And are there any, what advice would you give to somebody who's sort of, who's living in that sort of situation?
Yeah, to reach out to us.
Mm-hmm.
To reach out to us. Let's have a discussion, and let's find the best way for us to help you. There are many different places out there that we can line up for shelter, that we can assist people that are in those horrible circumstances, and we want to make sure that they're safe.
There seems to be a lot of potential for fraud. It seems like every day the AG is putting out a notice to people about scammers going after stimulus checks and student debt forgiveness, or just looking for personal information. What do you think are some of the keys to protecting yourself from potential scammers like this?
Well, I've always kind of gone by what my father told me a long time ago. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
You can't win the lottery in another country if you've never played it, right?
Right.
Just kind of your basic ones. But one of the things that makes these scammers so successful is they're believable, right? They speak in ways in which you just start. I've had, the phone calls to myself as well. And it's like, wow, could this really be Citibank calling, or DTE, or what have you? But just remember, they're not going to ask for your personal information. And I think especially one of the things that's going around on social media right now, especially on Facebook, is those questions about where you grew up, what high school you went to.
Oh, yeah.
Those types of things. We are voluntarily giving that information up, in almost making it seem like it's a game, right? And it's something fun. So be very protective of your information. Don't release your social security number, your address. I know that my bank was reaching out to me when this first started and the interest rates had dropped. It was a legitimate call. They were calling me and they wanted me to verify my address. I go, I'm not verifying my address with you. Well, the phone call can't continue until we do. I guess we're not going to talk anymore.
Right.
So I got a phone number from them, called the bank, and had a discussion with them and said, hey, that's a bad practice, because we've told people, that you're not going to ask personal questions, and you're just kind of helping sometimes, further this scam. There's undoubtedly going to be scams with the unemployment insurance. We saw that, I think it was 2 years ago, in our crime numbers, in our fraud cases, people filing taxes, right? Tax returns. And it's a sad thing, but there are people out there that have evil intent, and they want your money, your hard-earned money. And we just have to do our very best to protect it.
You touched on this a little bit earlier. One of the things I'm seeing on social media is people getting upset because they might see cars parked at a local factory, or they think they should be closed and not working and doing their part with the stay-at-home shelter-in-place order, or kids messing around together when they shouldn't be together. Understandably, everybody wants everyone to do their part to help end this situation as soon as possible. When should they call the police? Is it if there's 8 kids hanging around at the park? Should they call the police? It,
I think it's using your best judgment, right?
mhm,
Our parks, our equipment's closed, but our parks are open,
right,
right? Whether it is whether it's the slide or benches or whatever it is, we don't want to increase opportunities for that for COVID-19 to be transmitted between people. The challenge is that those that live in the same house, right, don't necessarily have to abide by those social distancing.
right.
So if we get a phone call that there are 5 people, that are maybe playing basketball somewhere, and we go out there, we have to have contact with those folks, right? So we need to get out. We're kind of exposing ourselves to that. It's a challenge. I think that everyone has as much information as law enforcement does, as Governor Whitmer does, and those people, the medical professionals around her, right? And if you choose to go out and engage in this activity, you're running the risk of having police contact. Our businesses, for the most part, I have a gentleman that's been in pretty constant communication with me and has made some social media posts. We're basically handing a letter of complaint over to the business owner, notifying them that we've received a complaint that they are violating the order,
Mm-hmm.
updated to include the new order. I can't remember if it's 2020-42 or 43 that came out last Thursday. And it also asked them to provide information which they feel proves that they're an essential business. We do have some businesses that have retooled
Mm-hmm.
in their face masks instead
Right.
of,
Sisu. Yeah.
We keep a log in our dispatch center, and once we receive the information from the business, a police officer documents it in the police report and then sends it off to the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office for a warrant review. It's our job to gather, the information and the evidence, so to speak, and speak to both sides and present, that case to the prosecutor's office, and then they'll make a charging decision. Now, if we go to a house party and there's 25 people there and they're all in their backyard and they're hooting it up and they don't live, in that home.
Right. I think we froze up here.
Oh,
Okay, there. If the last I heard was, and if they don't live in that home?
they will be getting tickets.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. We certainly don't want to do that. We try to always gain, compliance with our laws. But as I said earlier, everyone knows, right? We all have this information at our fingertips every day.
Yeah. Have you had to hand out, have you investigated many businesses who?
I believe we're right around 6.
Okay.
Businesses. Yep.
All
And
right.
predominantly all in our industrial park. We did have one complaint against our local 892. They thought maybe they were having a gathering there. They were not. They were simply trying one at a time to help their members file for unemployment.
Okay. Yeah. Which is pretty essential right now.
That's right. It's very
there was I saw something on social media about somebody upset that they saw a Saline police officer asking people to leave a park. I'm not sure if that was true or not. Do you know anything about that situation?
I somewhat do. I believe it was a week ago Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We had a police officer that was out at the park, and the challenge there was it was our first really nice day.
Right.
Sunny, it was warm, and the officer pulls into Mill Pond and sees people sitting on the picnic tables, being within close proximity of each other, not obeying the social distancing. They were in the dog park, even though the dog park was locked.
Yeah.
People were lifting their dog up above, over the fence and putting them inside, and some other activities that were going on there. And she got on the radio to ask, what was going on. And I said, hey, listen, this is our first really nice day. Just get on your PA system and tell people to obey the social distancing, not to use the equipment, and so on and so forth. I don't know if there was anything specifically said about the park closed. But again, we're kind of in that new territory.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to use our discretion as much as we can. But the violations that the officer saw and the amount of people there, we weren't going to interject at that point. We were going to pull back, make that PA announcement, and then continue on.
The word everyone is using is unprecedented, and nobody's ever lived through this that so what are you asking, in situations like that or other situations from the public when you guys are trying to help us stay safe and end this, minimize the effects of this health concern? What ask do you have of us to help you do your job?
To stay informed and to follow the rules. I get it. There is a tremendous amount of conversations going on right now about the governor's orders and whether they're constitutional and can I go to my place up north? Hey, I'm affected by that too. I own a place with my brother and my buddy up north and was looking forward to going turkey hunting in a couple weeks. I'm not going, right? Because it's much more important for me to stay safe. And if I do happen to be sick, to take that up north and start, further this epidemic and pandemic up north, I would feel horrible. So just please continue to follow the social distancing, wear those masks when you're out in the grocery store. You may have it and not know it and transmit it to someone that's very vulnerable.
I had kind of sent you some questions ahead of time, so you knew what I would ask. But one thing I didn't ask was Saline Police Department participated in that parade with other emergency responders. Was it at University of Michigan Hospital?
Yeah, so we started out at the U of M, and then we drove around the VA hospital, and then over to St. Joe's. Yep.
Okay. What was that, you or was it somebody else? And what was that like? I know you're in your vehicle, so I don't know if you know exactly what that effect is like, but it sure seemed like it meant something to some of the people who I saw commenting it on social media.
It was far more emotional than I had ever imagined. Usually when there are that many police and fire vehicles together, we are honoring a fallen comrade.
Right.
This was about a mile-long procession of vehicles. And what I saw was a lot of battle-worn people. I could see the look in their eyes. We might have to deal with incredibly dangerous and horrific instances, whether it's an active killer investigation or a death investigation. But those are for short periods of time, and we can pull away from that scene, right, at some point and start getting our paperwork in order and getting away from that. I know that look in their eyes, and it was heartbreaking to see. My sister works on a COVID floor downriver, and she was it lifted her spirits, and she doesn't work at any of those hospitals.
Yeah.
So I think that it really just showed support for those frontline medical workers who are seeing things that are really unprecedented. I think that much like we do from time to time have to see very horrible things, they're seeing them far more often and every single day. My relative cries herself on the way home. She cries getting ready for work and cries all the way to work, and then puts her game face on and takes care of her patients. So this is really, and we've used this word before, it's unprecedented, and they need our support. And our local businesses need our support. Our folks working, putting themselves at risk
at the grocery stores. Yeah.
Today I was honored to pick up a few sandwiches from Karen Kerrigan's and take them over to Bush's today, just to kind of let them know that we support them too. This is a time where we absolutely need to step up and take care of each other. And that was a wonderful feeling as well. Just to do something to lift someone's day.
I appreciate it, Chief. Thank you for the information today. I hope people take it to heart and stay safe out there.
Right?
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Tran. And we truly do love our community. Please just obey the governor's orders, and we will get through this sooner versus later.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Chief. Have a good one.